Okay, we will call to order the agenda of the Facilities Committee of the Whole on Monday, April 22nd. And thanks to our great technical services, we are 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Hear that in the back room? Okay, first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from January 22nd, 2024. Motion by Bill. Is there a second? Second by Joel. Assuming a roll call vote, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Joel seconded, sorry.
Bill.
Motion by Bill, second by Joel. Nope. All right, we will now move into the facilities projects update.
Thank you, President Flynn and members of the board. I have a short little slide deck up here, mostly pictures, so hopefully we can go through this quickly and get you guys out of here. First off, we'll start with Valley Middle School. I thank everybody for being there for the groundbreaking on April 10th. That was a great success, in no small part due to your commitment to these facilities and this school district. After the groundbreaking, as you can see, it's a little bit difficult to see, but we've got our construction fence up, and we have our offices and brake shack in place, and we have temporary power on the site. At this point, we're waiting for frost to come out so we can do some utilities work that is mandated by the city, and we're trying to get our final civil plan approved. On to the Career Impact Academy. Career Impact Academy is going very well. As you can see, the exterior framing is going up. All of the iron is hung. We have almost all of the decking in place. And it's very exciting because this week our insulated metal panels are going to start to go in. So we're going to start enclosing the building this week. So as we do that will be our next step. And then we will start pouring inside the building as well. Central Kitchen, as many of you saw as you drove by, there's a lot of activity going on out there. We just started site work on Sunday, so that's going well. As well as you can see on the left here that we've taken all the concrete out of there. We're digging in our plumbing and our electrical. And on the right, you can see that we're starting to move dirt as we reshape for our civil plan, which includes a grass holding pond. Do you have any questions at this point? Because I think, yep. Go ahead.
And I don't know if it's for you or for administration. So the CIA is supposed to be done next April, right?
Correct.
Are we planning to first use it? Is there anything going on over the summer, or are we planning to start in the fall of 24 using the building for students?
So I can
25, yeah, sorry.
I could speak quickly to maybe even buy time or invite Mr. Ripley out. I think he's in the back room here too. But I think that with any luck, we'll be able to take full advantage of that building over the summer.
All right. There's always a 5-second time delay in the back tech room. So, Dr. Wan, your question?
It looks like building completion is April of 25.
Correct.
I'm wondering, are we going to be able to use the building over the summer? Is there a use for it, or are we gearing up for the fall of 25 with students?
Yeah, so certainly the fall of 25 is the start of a full school year, but I think just like you would we try to use the term like a soft opening. I think the summer of 25 offers the opportunity to bring students, parents, stakeholders, et cetera, to have things like summer camps, some different activities over the course of that summer of 25. That would be our intention. What that exactly looks like is a little bit unknown, but I do know that we have, for example, Vextro box camps that we host each summer. We just host it right now in a school building. Well, could those camps be hosted at the Career Impact Academy? Sure. And so I think there's opportunities like that that could be helpful to be able to, again, get students and get our community members in that building before the start of that fall of 25 school year.
Any other questions for Mr. Elwine or Mr. Ripley?
Okay, thank you. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my safety and security manager, Daly Wilkinson. She is project managing the safety and security referendum project, so she's going to give you some updates on that.
I had to write it down, otherwise I forget. I'm also not as tall as Jonathan. All right, thank you for having me. I just wanted to give you guys a couple of security updates. We're going to have a better, more formal one the facilities meeting in May, where EAPC will actually come in as well. But for starters, we're about a third, maybe a quarter of the way through updating our FOB software. So what's happening is they're going through each school, changing out the software so that we can't be hacked anymore, because our old system was completely outdated. And then once school ends, beginning of June into May, they're going to start switching all the actual hardware. So the cameras that we have on some of the schools will be replaced so that the pictures are better and more clear. That'll also equal a fob door for a lot of the schools as well. So schools like Wilder, where their door 1 is just a camera door and a key door, it should now be a fob and a camera door. So that makes it more accessible for staff as well. Where we're at as far as the schools go, project-wise for summer, we're still kind of wrapping things up. We finished the Tier 1. We've met with the stakeholders at the schools regarding those schools. And as a reminder, it's Red River, Winship, Wilder, Lake Agassiz, and Schrader. And now we're in the process of design development. So we've kind of done the initial planning with them, the stakeholder meetings, and now in the next 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks we have all those 5 schools with design development meeting at the EAPC to go over kind of the next steps and what they think, the concepts and the space that we're utilizing. Still working on Tier 2 and Tier 3 with stakeholder meetings. I would say we're just over 2/3 of the way through with those, moving towards the Tier 3 for initial design and concepts as well. And then we are meeting bi-monthly with EAPC, construction engineers, and us, just to kind of go over updates and details.
Any
questions I can try and answer?
For Daly? Go ahead, Monty.
I have an odd question for you. Is community high school on your list? I know we don't own that building.
Right.
So
It is on the list.
Okay.
What we can do with it might be more challenging. However, we are looking to add that fob door and make it secure all the time.
Oh, thank you. Well, I went there to present, right? And I stood at the front doors for the longest time looking like where I could press to get in. And finally a student came and opened it and they're like, you can just walk in here. I was like, oh, okay, I would be a terrible burglar, but that's good.
With the traffic that's at that school, with the multiple uses is the reason that it's currently open, but we are looking to make that more secure. Sure.
Are board members required to do the phishing training?
The what training?
PH? Oh, that's an Eric question.
Yeah, in about 5 seconds, Eric Ripley's going to bust out of a room here.
Oh, okay. If you have a school email address, my answer is yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure you all do your phishing training.
It's not that hard. It takes about a half hour.
Okay. We can't do a group quiz.
It's assigned to your each individual email addresses.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Daly? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, now we'll move on to our guaranteed energy savings projects. This summer, we're doing HVAC replacement at Kelly Elementary, Lewis and Clark Elementary, and then we're trying to finish up our district-wide lighting upgrades. The HVAC projects, we're looking to start those really as soon as we can turn the boilers off. We're working with building level admin and custodians as well as our contractors to find out how can we get into those boiler rooms before school's over without disrupting learning. That's always our number one goal, is to not disrupt learning, but we also have a pretty tight timeline that we're trying to turn these around on. And then other summer projects, last board meeting I brought the roof restoration projects to this group, and we have Ben Franklin, Red River, and Phoenix. We're putting on new roofing systems on portions of those roofs that will give us a 20-year warranty on our good gravel built-up roofs. We're hoping to start on those on Red River probably a little bit before school ends, because the largest area is above that locker bay. There's no classrooms, so it's minimally disruptive. And then Ben Franklin and Phoenix, when we don't won't have students inside classrooms. And then carpet replacements, I just brought the Winship to you. We're going to do Winship Lake Agassiz, and then we have a number of classrooms at Central that we didn't get to last year because of some abatement, but we're working through that right now, trying to see what all we can get done this summer. As well, we're working on the Winship envelope restoration. That will, the bids are due for that, oh shoot, I want to say May 8th. So we'll have a bid opening, and then we'll work with our design team and our construction team, and we'll bring that bid back to you for approval, and we can get started on that. That is, the idea with that is to finish that completely within summer, and not to disrupt any school time. Any questions with these?
Go ahead, Dr. Shab.
The slide before,
Yep.
slide before had something about district. Could you remind us what the district-wide lighting upgrades are, please?
Yep, we moved to a lot of motion sensors and moved away from our fluorescent lights to LED lights in order to save money and energy, and then also they last quite a bit longer, so that saves us in maintenance costs. That was part of that bonded project along with those HVAC projects.
So I have a question on that. Going back to your building fund balance sheet in the school board memo, the guaranteed energy savings has a line item for an expense of $6.7 million. But as I recall, there was some bonding funds, and then essentially would the savings impact the general fund as opposed to the expense fund of which is coming out of?
I'll let Brandon take that one.
And I'm happy to answer that. So all activity associated with this line is in the building fund. So none in the general fund. What happened to help
You mean
pay
all activity expense-wise?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And so the project in total is just over $17 million to go through a couple different years. What Jonathan's mentioned here today is this next coming summer, but you recall there was a lot of work last year. I don't recall the sites offhand, but a total of just over $17 million. A large part of where that came from is that when the voters in the fall of '21 approved the increase in the building fund levy, that was one of the immediate things that the board took action on and said, of the anticipated proceeds of the additional $2.5 million, we're going to set aside $1 million annually right away to bond. What we got from that was just under $14 million. And so the way a guaranteed energy savings project works is if you only took intervention to save energy, then theoretically the money you would save over subsequent years the savings would pay for the bond. In our project, we did a lot of energy savings, like district-wide lighting upgrades, envelope upgrades, more efficient boiler systems, but we also blended it with some inefficient things, is when you add air conditioning, for example, it doesn't save energy. So that's where the initial $13 million we bonded came into play. For the final component of that project, there's an additional bond that's always been a part of the plan here that would really be tied into the energy savings. That would bring us to the full $17 million.
Okay.
But so none in the general ledger, none in the general fund, all in the building fund.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
As Building and Grounds Director goes through all the schools that are being worked on, one of the, going back to our summer school report, one of the reasons for the consolidation of those schools and the offerings of those 4 school sites is because of some of the projects happening throughout the summer. So just want you to be aware of, as we went through this conversation, as you'll see, Kelly is offline, Lewis and Clark is offline, Ben Franklin is offline, Winship is offline. So it made sense to really do the consolidation as a result of some of that work being done. And so not all of those schools, like Wilder, you've seen hasn't been listed, but it made sense, rather than Wilder running their own building, combine them with Winship and Lake Agassiz and do it all at one site. So I just want you to be aware of that was some of the rationale behind it. There were other aspects as well, but this was one of the processes of it. So.
Thank you.
And a couple things to add with that. I just want to thank Mr. Baki and Ms. Galach. We worked very hard from the very beginning to talk through summer school to make sure a lot of these projects are based on, okay, how can we do summer school and still get projects done? Especially with these large-scale HVAC upgrades, which are very exciting. But that takes 2 schools offline, and we still want to be able to do other maintenance projects. So they've been very accommodating, and they've been very helpful, and they've given a lot of ideas and a lot of input. So I just want to thank them for that. And then to piggyback off of what Mr. Bombach said, in addition to the energy savings from things like LED, we have a process of ongoing commissioning and programming that we work with our design team. So they're consistently changing how our building HVAC runs to try and save us money. So, okay, we're going to turn it off at 6 p.m. and turn it back on at 5 a.m. Okay, it's too cold or it's too hot, and we were consistently adjusting that, trying to save the district as much money as possible to bring those monies back into the general fund.
I thought of this as you were talking, Mr. Baki, about Winship Elementary School in particular, and what you were talking about too, with the envelope on the outside. Is the plan to close off that school so that neighborhood children can't use the park?
Correct. That will be down all summer. We're still working on a possible playground upgrade. We're not 100% sure if it happened. We're having some issues with some bureaucracy with some grants, but the idea would be to shut that down. I had talked with Mr. Thorvaldsen about that, and he doesn't seem to think it would be an issue, but I do know a lot of area families do use that throughout the summer.
Yeah, that was a question I had too about the playground, and I forgot to bring that up. So I was part of the Community Development Block Grant Initiative when that was funded, or I was in the group, listening. And so I know that in the past, those funds always had to be spent that same year, but I thought you had made an agreement, or somebody had an agreement that could extend that. Maybe, Mr. Bombach, maybe you know a little bit more.
Yeah, that CDBG program, we're working with Meredith Richards and her team down in the city, and so it took a minute here last year. That was on the school district, making sure we had everything in order, and so we've been lockstep with them all winter long. And as Jonathan's mentioning, we're just trying to bring the thing home here this summer. I know Principal Thorvaldsen and the whole school are really excited about the upgrades.
I know last year there were some issues with the grounds of Ben Franklin, or of Winship, not getting mowed, and it looked kind of scrappy. And so if you're, cordoning the whole area, I don't know what you are, but I don't know if you're going to mow the yard either.
That's unclear at this point. It's going to depend on our construction schedule. I don't want to disrupt our construction team's area in order to do that, but we will work with them to make sure that they maintain and protect our grounds while they're doing that work.
Go ahead.
Just a question to clarify. Did you say that even if the playground, even if that remodeling doesn't occur, the playground's going to be down because of the construction in the building?
Correct, yeah.
So we can safely say that playground's not going to be in use this summer, so people understand that, because of the construction in the building, not necessarily because of remodeling of the playground.
Correct. It's just not conducive to a construction site to have children playing around it.
I just want people to understand that we know now that that playground's not going to be available.
Other questions? Okay.
Well, that's all I had in this report. I'd be happy to take any other questions here after, but thank you for your time.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, then we will adjourn the Facilities Committee. Thank you.